Hello, what is up everyone? It is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I am from the likes of the Moxie Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Super Monkey Ball for the Nintendo GameCube, or also known originally Monkey Ball for the arcade machine. So last time we have managed able to, well, I would say we did actually have an okay run in Expert, despite the fact that I did manage to use a lot of continues just because, well, there are some levels I'm pretty good at, and some of them are decent I was good at, but most of them I wasn't good at them. Mainly I'm looking at you, Expert 7, but I digress. So today for this episode in particular for this point guys, this is going to be the finale in terms of Super Monkey Ball Let's Play, and what it means by that is the fact that today we're going to be showing off the Expert Extra levels, which again, in order to get to the Expert Extra levels, in addition to that, the Master levels as well, you have to go for these levels without using a single continue, which let me tell you, it's impossible. Which either way though, because I was doing okay enough in Expert as it is, but I've never actually made it to the forms of Expert Extra levels normally. So because of that, much like the forms of the Advanced Extra levels, as I usually done it from the likes of the practice mode, I'm going to be showing you guys every single Expert Extra levels in addition to the Master levels via the practice mode. Why? Because I thought so. So because of that, yeah, the first stage in Expert Extra, it's not much different, it's just once again below a bridge once again, but in the second floor, as you can see, we actually come across into a new stage, which appears to be, calls it, Breath, which I think that's what the stage's name is called, and then in Expert Extra 3, it remains the same as Advanced Extra 2, like usually Hard Hitter, so it's not much different from there, so yeah, and I get the feeling that the majority of the Expert Extra levels are always going to be 30 seconds. So because of that though, yeah, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on 30 seconds on most of the stages anyway. So because of that, although whenever we get onto the Master levels though, that it's going to be strictly onto 60 seconds, or in this case, a minute. So yeah, that's something worth keeping in mind. So anyway, that's about it. And here we go, on to Expert Extra 4, which I think this stage is called Ferris Wheel, meaning that we can able to actually just, well, go for the actual Ferris wheel, like so. Now, the fifth extra level is actually very unique, which you'll see why in just a moment, and that's what appears to be this level right here. I'm presuming this stage is called Factory, because obviously there's going to be a lot of claw machines here and there, trying to able to let go of the multiple duplicates of those normal regular goals, so this means they hold up to like 2 of them, which even then though, that it does reminds me of a little bit on Polo Large, but except the fact that rather than doing with a enormous wheel, so we have to get a lot of emphasis on trying to able to make a leaps of faith to try to break the actual goal tape right there, so and believe me, this is where the game starts to get a little bit difficult, well, extremely difficult I should say, because even though if you really want to go to the Master levels though, as I said before, you have to play through Expert Extra levels without using a single continue, because if you use the continue, you're not going to make it to the Master levels after all, so because of that, yeah, be forewarning for the sake of the forms if you really want to able to up for the challenge, so anyways, here we go with Expert Extra 6, known as the forms of Coral Pipe. And this meaning about the fact that we need to go for this little spirally pipe. And this level does remind me of Corkscrew level from the likes of Super Monkey Ball 2. Well, except the fact that this level wasn't nearly as huge as the forms of Corkscrew ever since in Super Monkey Ball 2. But at least at the very least, that this level is very similar. Like, usually you're gonna go inside this little pipe you go, and while at it though, you need to avoid the holes if you don't get enough speed, or even in this case, if you manage to get stuck in there, so because of that, yeah, I'm also able to take a full off from that point right there, but oh well, at least I did try. But anyway, a few things I want to explain is the fact that obviously today's day is of course the 17th of June today, in this case in 2021, and it looks like that recently today marks the 10th anniversary of the release of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D for the Nintendo 3DS. Now I'm really impressed about that, especially noticeable how that remake has turned out super well, especially noticeable it's now becoming my favorite Zelda games ever whenever I manage to complete the game on a go. So as a result, I'm actually really looking forward to see how, well, I'm presuming that Moxie has already mentioned about a lot of things from E3 ever since during the forms of, well, let's say ever since yesterday, so there's no point for able to mention that again. So, yeah, let's just move on to the next few levels right here. So here we go on to Expert Extra 7. I think this stage is called Magic Hand, which meaning that we need able to, like, utilizing this little yellow pad stuff, which that way it can keep you safe from falling off. But sometimes you need to be fast on it though, because obviously if you don't be fast enough, then you probably get a time up. So yeah, keep that tradition in mind. So as for Expert Extra 8, it's pretty much unchanged, just like any forms of how it does it on Advanced Extra 4 and Beginner Extra 3. So it's once again AB logo, and this is my first time ever I actually failed on that stage. Well, mind you, because I having some of my control stick problems earlier, so hopefully I might try to get used to that though, but aside from that, yeah, this stage is once again pretty easy. Well, aside from the fact that, well, this level is pretty much unchanged. Well, usually for Blur Bridge and AV Logo, those two levels are pretty much unchanged, depending on what difficulties you go to, so... Anyway, so let's move on to Expert Extra 9. I think this stage is called Century. Well, usually, because this level does remind me of the level from the likes of Super Monkey Ball 2, known as Planets, in, I would say in Master Extra levels, if I recall correctly, even though it has been a while since I actually did manage to play Super Monkey Ball 2 every once in a while. But either way though, let's just go ahead and get a nice little running start while trying to deal with the forms of bumpy jumps every once in a while. Now, some people seem to say that this level can be pretty tricky because of this wonderful annoyance, which appears to be by the forms of this one element that I'm sure most people already know what I'm talking about. And that was the forms of getting hit by that damn party ball right there. Like, I swear to Christ, that drives me insane. Especially noticeable because even then though, if you think you're about to be trying to able to, like, imagine this, right? If you're really the master of this game, well, don't be surprised if you're also able to get screwed over by bump into that gosh darn party ball. Which, believe me, it will happen a lot of times. Although, usually compared to the future games in this series, it doesn't happen that often. Like, for example, Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz is one of them because the goal design is actually a bit different. And also 3D, and also Banana Blitz, or Banana Splits, whatever you to be more specific. And especially noticeable with Super Monkey Ball Step and Roll as well, because that game doesn't have a jump feature, so... But yeah, it's just the fact of the matter is though, you have to do the ridiculous amount of timing if you're trying to able to go from one spherical platforms to the other, which, again, if you mess up one time, then you're probably not going to make it, and you might able to accidentally hit the gosh darn party ball multiple times. Like, I swear to Christ, it is so darn difficult sometimes. But when you get the hang of it though, it might not be so bad, but it's just that for the first time players who ever experienced this level, oh man, best of luck, because otherwise you're probably gonna get hit by that darn party ball a lot, and yeah, it happened to me loads of times during the past. Although, again, it does remind me of one of those levels in Super Monkey Ball 2 called Planets, although except unlike Planets, that basically there aren't any you know, warp goals to be found around here. It's just basically, it's just a regular goal. So, yeah, you probably expect it by that point. So, yeah, that's about that. And now let's move on to the last floor in terms of Expert Extra levels. Now, this level is actually kind of cool. In this case, Extra 10, I think the stage is called Daluma, which is basically about the fact that we need to watch out for this, you know, moving hammer of any sort, which basically the hammer will try to knock out, I would say, 6 of those little cylinder stuff, and basically you still have to wait until when the goal goes nearly go down, and then basically you have to be fast on this as well, because if the hammer hits the actual goal platform during time, then you're probably gonna lose a life, and you have to be fast at it. So, and there we go, that pretty much does it for the forms of the Expert Extra levels of this game actually has to offer. Some of them are easy, but some of them can be pretty challenging, so either way though, but that's besides the point. So here we go, folks, onto the forms of the final difficulty challenge in the whole game, and that's what appears to be the Master difficulty. And, again, to get to this particular world, as you can tell, we ended up in, I would say, like a Banana Century temple or something, which, it does look pretty cool nonetheless, in addition to the music itself is so atmospheric as well. And, basically, it's the fact that to get to this place, you need to be sure you need to complete Expert without using Continue, which that'll lead you to Expert Extra levels, and you can have to also try to tackle through Expert Extra levels without using a single Continue either. So yeah, this is going to be a multitasking, and especially notable, it's really tough as hell, which I must admit though right away, I'm not exactly great at it though, I must be honest here, but at least I did try my best, so... Anyway, back into the actual, the levels themselves, in terms of master levels as far as you can see. The first stage, as you can see, this stage is pretty tricky from the start, just because it's all about timing based. And this particular stage is called Wave Master. In fact, kind of thing about it though, or actually I might be wrong about the forms of what the environment takes place. This place is called Banana Island, which I think that's what the environment itself is actually called. So yeah, I just want to classify that for the sake of what the world's theme is called. So yeah, at least I just want to point things out. So anyway though, so when you get the hang of the timing with the forms of back and forth platforms between like up and down, then you would do it alright, but it does take you a couple of tries if you manage to do this on the practice mode, so... And ironically enough, is that the next level we're going to be hit into, Master 2, which is called, I would say, a Fan Master, meaning about the fact that we need to go through a serious amount of staircases and all that stuff. Honestly, I think this level is pretty easy, honestly, even though despite I get one tiny mistake right there. Mainly it's because I keep on thinking of something else, but surprisingly enough, it actually did take me 2 attempts, because... Well, usually relatively speaking, it's just the fact that the only thing I did manage to do this stage alright, and that was the fact that you can actually take a shortcut if you try to ignore the actual trickier parts throughout this level. And that's what it appears to be if we go on to, well, not the next section, but this section in particular, and then wait until the camera decides to move, and then also just let the thing stop. Go over there, bump into that top of that little ball, and basically you will get to the goals. So thankfully, I found that stage kind of easy, so, but it can be a bit tricky at times. Unlike Master 3. Oh, for the love of Christ, why do I even begin with this level? This stage in particular is going to be the absolute test of your skills. And what do I mean by that? Well, to begin with, that you notice about the fact that we got the returning, narrow pointy thing if you're trying to navigate through that ever since in Expert 7, but now this time around it's outrageously thin, and to top it all off is actually a lot higher compared to the forms of how it does it in Expert 7 basically. And also you need to line yourself carefully, because if you keep on jiggling around with your control stick like I just did right there, then you're probably gonna have to go for the entire thing all over again, completely filled to the brim with the forms of a lot of really difficult sections. Like, for instance, that after you bypass this part, then you're gonna have to go for this L-shaped platform, and then you realize the fact that you weren't able to get onto these moving platforms, which, by the way, those platforms move way too fast, and meaning that you don't have any reaction timing or anything else like that, meaning about the fact that you probably won't be able to actually do this very easily, because those things are ridiculously fast. And then there's also the final section, which goes straight into the forms of the green ribbon thing, which I must be honest here, for my playthrough of this particular stage, I actually never got to that point. Mainly it's because of that stupid platform segment that it's like ridiculously over the top fast. So yeah, and by the way, this stage is called Stamina Master because obviously this level is a test of patience, and it really does. Especially noticeable that the only trick I find is that you're gonna have to do a perfect timing right there, even though it's kind of impossible to do it because you have to do a lot of, you know, judging the distance and all that stuff to able to actually hit the goal. But most of the time, some speedrunners can do that, but believe me, it is a lot tricky as it looks. Especially noticeable, it's bad enough if you ever play this on the PlayStation 2 on Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. Oh, you might as well have some hellish times on the PlayStation 2 version. Well, at least to be more specifically, Super Monkey Ball Deluxe on the PS2, believe me. So, yeah, you probably get the idea of how this stage plays out. It's really tough. It is seriously tough. Well, nowhere near as tough as the forms of the most impossible level in the game, which we'll talk more about until then. But for the most part, it's going to have to... Oh, jeez, that was actually pretty close. Especially noticeable that, again, sometimes if I was going to bypass that part, then there we go. Whew. Thank goodness that was over. Especially noticeable that, again, this level still can be pretty tough though. In fact, the majority of the master levels throughout the game, it is still really, really hard. Like, literally super tough. So, anyway, so here we go on to Master 4, which I think this stage is called Spring Master. So, because of that, you're gonna have to get a lot of usage of the forms of this red ribbon thing. I don't know how to exactly gonna call it. And basically, all you have to do is basically, sometimes those little platforms will help you if you really don't want to get hit by the actual, like, a spring little thing right there, or in this case, the actual red ribbon. And basically, it's the fact that that way you can able to wait for a few moments until when it goes straight again. But for my tidbit, for my skills right there, I'm actually able to try to fluke myself thanks to the forms of that little brown stick little things to able to actually fluke me all the way to the goal. But here's the problem with this though. Sometimes I constantly find myself getting into the forms of those bumpy stuff way too unpredictably, and plus because of that though, you really need to able to go easy on your speed, because if you go too fast and you bump yourselves out of nowhere, then you're probably gonna fall off loads of times, and especially noticeable you get banged very, very easily. So anyways, let's move on to the forms of, in my honest opinion, one of the luck-based levels of the entire game, along with the other one as well. That's what appears to be the Dance Master, as far as I like to call this stage. Well, if for those of you who ever played Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, which I'm sure most of you already know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's besides the point. This stage has filled to the brim with a lot of blocks splitting. And because of that though, you need to know the exact correct angle if you really want to be safe. And most of the time, it's all about, well, as I said before, it can be pretty luck-based at times, because otherwise the blocks will now gonna almost try to cover up the entire floor. And then, if you manage to get bumped at least once, due to that how hard that is, for able to actually get smacked by the forms of certain individual blocks, then you're probably gonna say goodbye. So because of that though, well, assuming if you're able to actually have infinite continues, you will be fine. But if you do have limited amount of continues, then you're pretty much gonna have to go all the way back to the start, which that's no good if you keep on getting messed up movements like such. So because of that, yeah, this actually took me a lot of recording attempts, by the way, for able to tackle for the majority of the master levels pretty much. So because of that, yeah, it is really tough though. It is seriously, seriously tough. So, but I digress. So, I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this as well is that by that time, until the next 6 days, this game, well, not so much the GameCube version of Monkey Ball, because that was on November this year, but Monkey Ball on the arcade machine will become, well, 2 decades old, I should say. So either way though, I can't even believe it's been 2 decades old since when the Super Monkey Ball series was first started. So even then though, it's kind of surprising. So, although, speaking of Super Monkey Ball or Monkey Ball on the arcade machine, generally speaking, is the fact that there is only one master level on the arcade machine, and I'll talk more about that whenever we get to that level. Although not so much the rest though, because obviously the 9 master levels, mainly Master 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10, those stages are exclusive to the console version of the game, because unlike the arcade version only has 1. Even though, mind you, that we're still able to come across into that exact same master level, but either way though, yeah, that's pretty much about it for Dance Master. So, holy cow, that stage is, well, luck-based, which I must admit though right away, it did took me a couple of tries. Here we go, on to Master 6, and this stage is actually pretty cool. We're actually going to be ended up inside the actual, like, a pentagon 3D shape or something like that. I don't know exactly what the 3D shape is called, but that's besides the point. And I believe this stage is called, Roll Master, because this thing constantly rolls, and you're gonna have to follow the forms of the red paths while avoiding the actual holes. And because of that though, trust me, for able to go right where the red lines are, because otherwise, if you follow those paths correctly, it leads you to the goal. Oh jeez, that was close. That was... I almost felt nerve-wracked by then, because if I somehow missed my chance to able to get to the goal, I would be extremely upset. But anyways, here we go on to Master 7. I think this stage is called Edge Master. And there's actually a shortcut on this level though, but it's really difficult to execute. Mainly due to the fact that you have to be so precise with the actual camera angles, and also you're gonna have to be so precise with your movements and such. But even then, less there is normally, so because of that, I don't feel like just wasting time trying to keep on achieving the actual shortcuts every once in a while. So, yeah, this stage is filled to the brim with a lot of weighting emphasis on this. Ah, dang it, I was literally so close. But, anyway, I believe there are 4 switches laid around during the course of the background of the stage. And basically, every time with, well, every button is pressed, basically, the actual thing rotates, so that's the whole entire purpose of this stage's gimmick. So, yeah, that sounds about right. So, yeah, anyway, something's worth mentioning is just the fact the matter is, though, is just that, well, usually, relatively speaking, is that, actually, to be honest with you, there's not much else I can talk about, aside from the fact that, well, as you can see, I've managed to succeed on Master 7, even though at first I thought that the camera angle might as well screw me up, but thankfully it didn't, so at least we thankfully make it there. So, yeah, that's Master 7. Oh, goodness gracious me, Master 8. This stage is called Dodge Master, and believe me, this stage is even more luck-based than the 5th stage, and because of that, yeah, this stage has loads of weird block-type objects just whizzing around all over the place. And then, if you manage to get hit, it's probably likely a 98% chance you are gonna. And because of that, though, this place will drain you lives very, very quickly. Assuming if you're able to become, well, a bit lucky, but most of the time, these little weird block-type stuff just trying to knock you off all over the place, which... that definitely seems a bit tricky as a level as it is, so because of that though, yeah, I don't know if there's any way that I'm pretty sure that most people might get it very lucky, but oh my goodness, that was close, but thankfully it doesn't take me multiple attempts, unlike Master 5, or Master 3 for that matter, so... oh boy, here we go, the hardest stage in the entire game, Master 9. And this stage right there was actually originated from the likes of the only master level that was originated on Monkey Ball on the arcade machine. Now I think the only differences between the 2 versions of this stage is that on the arcade version, Dust Master takes place in a different environment, something related to likely the night skies above, and then it also has the really cool background music as well, which I must admit that I do really like that. So yeah, take everything from floor 32 from the likes of expert difficulty, like the path gets progressively thinner, and only this time around though, it gets super outrageously thin. And also you can't really take your time either, because thanks to that beautiful clock that the bomb is about to be ticking off, and although there's actually a way you can able to do this level kind of easy, but it's actually pretty difficult to execute if you try to do it correctly. That is the pulse trick, which if you time your pulse trick well enough, like I just did right there, then you were able to make it there just alright. Well, for like 1 or 2 spots that I've managed to use that trick, but apart from that, yeah, that level's really hard. It is, without doubt, the hardest level in the game, and that stage calls it Bridge Master. So, here we go, folks, on to the final stage in the game, known as Monkey Master, in this case, Master 10. And, this is another stage that is only exclusive to the console version, so, yeah, this stage is also pretty tricky if you get the timing working going. And because of that, though, you have to deal with the forms of a lot of dancing stage particular gimmick right there. If you're trying to time your angle correctly, then it's not easy though. It is definitely not easy though. But if you get enough practice on it though, on the other hand, you would do it alright. So either way though, let's just go ahead and... oh, I was literally so close. Actually, kind of thinking about it, does it have any bananas in this particular level? I don't think so. Because all it gets is just basically, it's just, well, the goal, and then that's pretty much about it. but I digress. But of course, this is the final stage in the game, so presumably that's, well, it might actually took me a couple of attempts, I must be honest here, and it's also the reason why that it took me so long to able to do a lot of editing for doing successful attempts on most of those stages, because, oh man, those levels are really hard, like literally tough as heck. But apart from that, we've accomplished every single, like, stages in the game. But, obviously I have to able to play expert mode on my own time for a bit and record this part. So just in case, I just want to show you guys what happens if you beat, expert or expert extra levels, or even master levels for that matter. If you, master the game well enough, then basically it takes you to the third ending, where basically Ai, Mimi, and Baby manage to come across into the Banana Temple, which is filled to the brim with bananas. And, well, because it's obvious, because monkeys always loves bananas so much. So, and while this is happening though, Gongon decides to join in, and he somehow did not make it in the nick of time because he couldn't figure out how to open this darn door, and, well, he's getting pretty ticked off. And he's gonna back away and just do a arm punch, and then, oh no, the Banana Temple has been shambles to pieces, even though, mind you, they always having a good time eating their bananas, of course. So yeah, that's pretty much about it for the actual ending if you manage to complete expert difficulty, or if you be masterful well enough, you will complete expert extra levels or master levels pretty much. So yeah, that's it for our Let's Play of Super Monkey Ball for the Nintendo GameCube. And let's give my final thoughts of the forms of the game. But before we get into this actually, this is what the staff credits game looks like. Basically, you guiding your monkey into the endless road, filled to the brim with bananas, and you're gonna have to dodge a lot of letters, by the way, because if you dare touch to any letter, basically you lose 10 bananas if you manage to get hit by them. So yeah, I just want to classify that for that research. And also, if you realize, is the fact that if you remember from our Let's Play of Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD, enjoying the Sonic's playthrough anyway, that this music might be familiar to you, because that plays out in the forms of the first boss in Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD, which, yeah, that appears to be one of the music they managed to able to place it into. So, yeah, it seems kind of weird to able to have that music in Banana Blitz HD, although it's pretty obvious because of licensing issues, so that seems totally obvious. So, yeah, let's get to my final thoughts of Super Monkey Ball for the Nintendo GameCube. For the first game in the series, though, this is a must-have for the GameCube. Although, let's get to the positives, though. First of all, the visuals looked absolutely gorgeous, even on the Nintendo GameCube game back in 2001, for about 20 years ago. This game looks really impressive. Even on the GameCube, it looks breathtaking to look at. Especially, I always enjoy the amount of world themes they put up with. Like, you know, I think my favorite theme will have to be by the forms of the Monkey Mall, just because it reminds me of so much like a casino vibe, from the likes of like Casino Park vibe from Sonic Heroes or something. But that was like 3 years before that game came out back then. So either way though, and the soundtrack is, oh man, the soundtrack is probably the best part about the game for me, because I remember so many musical pieces they have. Like, still, I'm gonna have to say this again, I think Monkey Mall is actually my favorite world in the game, just because of the music, atmosphere, and oh man, I just really love that world so much. And also, I really enjoyed the snowy land theme as well, in addition to the forms of the theme of the actual world itself too, but that's besides the point. And also, the gameplay is pretty simple, even though that most of these levels are very cool looking, despite they are kind of short, even though that it's all Super Monkey Ball 2 roll around, that most of these levels in that game are super expansive and huge. And also, not to mention though, is the fact that the controls are perfection, especially noticeable thanks to the Nintendo GameCube controller. Meaning that obviously you're gonna have to deal with the octagonal pivot points, so that way you can get your accuracy and precision going. So at least that's actually pretty cool to say the least. But yeah, aside from that, this game is like perfect in almost every way. Especially noticeable that compared to the other games though, they are far lacking. Well, at the very least, you can still recommend this, Super Monkey Ball 2, Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, and curiously trying out Junior and maybe Touch and Roll, because those are the only games you probably still need to recommend, because as far as the future games in the series, well, they've gone a bit downhill, as you guys should know, ever since, well, the most obvious one of them all is in 2006, which is of course Super Monkey Ball Adventure, but let's not get ahead of ourselves for that game, because, well, that game's a load of trash, basically. So either way, though, that's how it goes, basically. So, yeah, and I do apologize for the actual, my skills wasn't exactly the most perfection thing in the world, but, again, I said this before already, at least I did manage to try my best to able to complete certain stages throughout. Although, there's one thing I should probably point out right away, is that this particular credits, you know, the credits section, it does manage to bring it back in the likes of Super Monkey Ball 3D for the 3DS, which, that sounds odd, but hey, at least it does have something more like really a reference to the original game, so anyway, but at least I do prefer this particular visual style than the ones in the 3DS version, just because, well, something about the 3DS version a bit lacking, and also a bit of bare bones at the same time. But regardless of such though, I still really enjoy this music nonetheless. And plus, this is actually kind of short though. So anyway, so thank you guys so much for watching of our Let's Play of Super Monkey Ball for the Nintendo GameCube. I hope you guys are able to enjoy this redo Let's Play, because I surely do, because it's been great. And by the way, depending on how much bananas you collect in the staff credit sequence, you get yourselves the monkey level ranking. So I've got Savannah Monkey, so that's alright I suppose. So I suppose next up in terms of the Super Monkey Ball games is, I would say N-Gage version or Super Monkey Ball Banana Splits, but I don't know, we'll see what happens until in the future. So thanks for watching, bye.